All right, I'm going to take care of some of the laundry list parts that we're going to do at the beginning. You know a lot of this, but people that are going to get the replay, they won't know it, so I want them to get it. So I'm married to the lovely Hillary, and we've got six kiddos, and that family is growing because we've got two in-laws now. So welcome, Jay. Welcome, Clifford. Good to have you with us. Just doing a quick introduction to myself, introducing you to my family, my good friend Tanner Bennett, who you're going to see up here as well. He'll be our participator early on since I could see him. And Clifford and Jay, if you guys could jump on, feel free. If not, we'll have you in the chat hopefully going. Okay, so my background is with BYU, University of Utah, and the Maxwell Leadership Team. So my undergraduate work is at BYU in health and wellness. So I do health and wellness coaching to help people on that side of things. Of course, that gives us the energy that we need to execute. I also work on the mental side of things. At the University of Utah, I studied educational psychology. So I like to get in that mental edge, again, leading us to the execution where the Maxwell leadership team really helps me out with that. So we've got our physical energy, our mental edge, and our execution that we want to do in any aspect of life, whether it's personal or professional. And our two instructors today to go along with me, don't I look good in there, Tanner, with these guys? The three of us. What a training team right here. We've got John Maxwell, leadership guru of over 50 years. Well, 50 years this coming July 4th. And his CEO for the last decade is Mark Cole. Mark Cole is one of the people who actually trains me on a weekly basis. John trains me on a 6 month basis. Mark trains me on a weekly basis through our mentorship calls. And then I get to come here and I get to share all that goodness with you so you can continue to go and grow and become great also. So that is the, I guess, credibility to set us up for today. And before we get going where we're going, we want to make sure we know where we've been and that we're not leaving it behind, but we're bringing it forward with us. So for you, Tanner, and for anyone who's going to be joining us, they'll get this. I want to give you that training resource because this training resource, it's called the 5 Levels of Leadership Field Guide. And that field guide is going to help you, Tanner, Cliff, Jay, anybody else that's on here and watching this. It's going to help you to develop that leadership. It's 15 pages of value that we're going to work through a little bit at a time. And today we're going to be looking at a few pages of that following this to help you implement what you're learning about the law of influence. So, Tanner, you ready to go, bro?
I'm ready.
All right. What are you most excited for learning about the law of influence then?
Oh, just how to, I don't know, be a more effective leader and be a more effective, I guess influencer is kind of a loaded phrase, but in terms of leadership, influencing people that I'm working with. So,
That's true. And I'm glad you brought that up. In fact, John did a special training for us back in 2020 where he made a distinguish because he wrote not just the law of influence, but he wrote a book. We're going to be moving into this one next. This will be our next little mini series is
mm,
on becoming a person of influence. And what is the difference between an influencer, the way that we see it these days, and really becoming a person of influence? So we're going to talk about 3 ways that we can become a person of influence and not just try to get that limelight as an influencer or push our own agenda, but really influence people to have that value add in their life and be able to go and grow and become greater in their own sphere of influence. So it is great that you brought up that distinction between an influencer and creating that influence. And that's exactly where we want to sit today. So I'm glad you're excited to learn about that. And thank you so much. Well, again, every single week, I'm going to ask you and the crew here to take action, right? And that acronym is for apply, change, teach. I'm going to say do at least 2 of these, at least one of these 2, and then teach it to someone else to reinforce it for yourself. Make sure that you are actually doing it. Hold yourself accountable because remember, the hardest person to lead is always ourselves. But once we're leading ourselves, it's much easier to lead other people. If we're not leading ourselves, we shouldn't expect anyone to be following. So, with the law of the lid, and welcome. Uh, so good to have you join us. Yeah, thank you so much. Just jump in really quickly. Tell me how to pronounce your name so when I call on you, I get that right.
I actually misspelled it. It's Charisse.
Oh, Charisse. Okay, that's
You're
what I
missing
was
an
going
I.
to guess.
Yeah.
Thanks, Charisse. So good to have you join us. And Charisse, were you with us last time with the law of the lid?
No, my first time.
Oh, good. Well, let me hit it really quickly for you. And thanks for coming. What profession are you in, Charisse? I'll use your profession for this one.
Early childhood education.
Awesome. That's what my wife studied for in her undergraduate as well.
Awesome.
So yeah, we love it. So for you as a early childhood educator, so that's the profession, and are you in education right now?
Yeah, so I'm a Montessori teacher and I'm starting a Montessori school. So that's the
Congrats.
business side of it. Thank you.
Hey, that's cool. Okay. Well, I've heard great things about Montessori, and I'll bet Montessori leans into this really well, right? There's teachers who are effective. Maybe like we all know those teachers who know their stuff really well. And so they like get the content down. However, they're missing that leadership side or like really being able to connect with the students and make it effective. So they're effective to a certain point, but because their ability to really connect and lead is low, then their effectiveness is low. And so it's decreased rather than increased. And so we want to not just be like content experts or subject matter experts and really good at what we do. We want to be really good with people. And so what the law of the lid says is that our level of effectiveness is capped by our level of leadership or our leadership lid, our ability to really be able to connect with those other people. And so in your classes and those teachers that you'll be training and helping in your Montessori school, you want to make sure that they not just have this down, but that they're able to really lead those students and create that effectiveness. And of course, that means you got to do that. So if you're a level 6 leader, that means the organization, the Montessori, can only go to a level 5, right? And you'll have to keep going and growing to keep that growth going. And those that outgrow you and me and Tanner, they'll go. They'll go somewhere else where they've got room to continue to grow and the lid isn't holding them down. So that's where we were last time. And this time, as we move into influence, often we can identify those leaders when we just ask ourselves, like, who's someone that I've admired in the past that had influence over me? So, Tanner, maybe I'll have you jump in right here. Who's a leader that comes to mind really quickly that just had great influence on you?
Mm. I had a supervisor. His name was Mark Lewis, and he is somebody who I just really look up to and really want to emulate in my own leadership, just because I felt like what he did that was so meaningful for me is just he was really good at forming genuine relationships. Like we're friends, and because we are friends, like he would involve me, he would counsel with me, he would be very open, and I guess it was just authentic leadership manifested, right? He was very genuine, he was very authentic. He would help me show me the wrestles that he was going through and ask for opinions, and just seeing the authentic nature of my friend Mark Lewis really made me want to go above and beyond for him. So yeah, that's who I would say.
I love it. And I love that you started with relationships. That's going to come up here in just a moment. Charisse, I want to come over to you. Is there anyone that came to your mind for a leader you admire?
Yeah, it's actually a friend of mine, and I admire her because she has a really good balance of understanding how to be excellent, but also really caring. She does both, and she really prioritizes her relationships, but she doesn't compromise her standards or her expectations for, doing your best. And she's actually done this with her family. She has 10 children. She has adult children and she has wonderful relationships with them. And she's an amazing person. So,
Oh man, so good. Well, something I planned on bringing this up later, but you and Tanner are already hitting on this right now, which is one of the three key questions that people ask and this will lead to our ability and the amount of influence we can actually have with someone is, do you care for me? Like that's the first question they're asking. Do you care about me? And that's one of the things, we've heard that over and over, especially in teaching, right? They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I think I said that. Did I get that in the right order? They don't know, they don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. So that's that first question. We're going to come back to that. So that's really important for us to understand when we think about what has been important about the influencers in our life in the right way of leadership. So I'm going to turn the time over to John Maxwell, our leadership guru, and the CEO, Mark Cole of the Maxwell leadership team, to give us a short instruction on really defining. Anytime we do a training, we want to first define what we're talking about. So let's define influence together and make sure we're on the same page there. And then look at some questions that can help us evaluate influence once we've defined it that way. So please give me just a moment while I get this share going. And Tanner, you let me know if anything's not working out well here. Here we go.
I want to talk to you now about the law of influence, which says the true measure of leadership is influence. Nothing more, nothing less. For 40 years, I've been teaching leadership around the world, and when people ask me what leadership is, I just say simply, it's influence, nothing more, nothing less. Now, that seems to be a very simple definition of influence and leadership, but can I tell you, it's a true measure of how well you influence people. You cannot lead people you don't influence, and the more influence you have with people, the more leadership you have with them. And so leadership is influence. You see, I learned that in my first church. I began as a pastor in southern Indiana, a little country church, just a handful of people. And we had our first board meeting, and I was so nervous. I wasn't trained on how to have a board, and nobody gave me any classes on it, but I knew we were going to have a half a dozen key people of the congregation. We're going to discuss the church and the issues of the church and things we need to be doing. And so I studied hard and prepared hard because the bylaws said I was the chairman of the board. Okay. So as the young 22-year-old chairman of the board, I gathered these country folks together and I opened the meeting. And as soon as I opened the meeting, there was a man, he's a farmer, his name was Claude, and he said, Brother John, there are a couple of things I think I need to talk about to the board tonight. And I said, sure, Brother Claude, go right ahead. And he brought up 2 or 3, 4 issues that evening, and everybody watched him, everybody listened to him, and everybody followed him. When he finished, he looked at me and said, well, Pastor, I think we've pretty well had our meeting this evening. You can close in prayer. And I'm staggered. I'm over here and I'm thinking, I'm the chairman of the board and I'm not leading anything and they're not listening to me at all. And they all watched Claude. And so I thanked God and I went back to my house that night. And Margaret, when I got there, she knew I was nervous about this first board meeting experience. And she said, well, John, how did it go? And I said, oh, I've got this one down. All I need is God and Claude. And I'm not sure God's going to be there all the time, but Claude, he's going to show up, and he is the leader of the pack. Now, how did I know that? Because he had the influence with those other farmers. They were going to watch him, listen to him, and do what he wanted. They weren't going to watch and listen to me. And I understood that, and I had enough wisdom the next month, a week ahead, to go down to the farm and spend a half a day with Claude on the farm and share with him some of my thoughts. And he'd take those thoughts and he would take them to the board meeting, and he led the meeting because he was the one who had the influence. I was there for 3 years and 3 months. The church grew tremendously, and I was not the leader. Claude was the leader. That valuable lesson has taught me so much about leadership. The fact that if you're not the number one influencer of the group, it's okay. Can you influence the number one influencer of the group? If you can still get your leadership stuff through. But here's what I want you to know. Leadership is influence. It's not title. It's not position. It's not something that is given to you. It's something that you have to earn. And Mark Cole, again, my right-hand person, my CEO, he's going to come alongside of me right now, and he's going to talk to you about how you apply this law of influence to your life so that you can be a Claude to someone else.
Thank you, John. So let's apply the law of influence. John says adding value to people is the greatest way to increase your influence. John demonstrated this in the story of Claude. You know, there's 3 ways to increase your influence. 1, value people. 2, gain respect. And 3, exceed expectation. Over 17 years, I've been working in John's organization, a leadership organization. And all of my life, I have aspired to be a great leader. It was only when I came at 30 years of age and began working in a leadership bubble, John's organization, that I realized if I wanted to lead, I needed to daily focus on expanding and increasing my influence. There were days, don't tell John, there were days I worked for some pretty bad leaders in his organization, but I still had to grow my influence. I had to value people, I had to gain respect. John says respect is gained on difficult ground. And trust me, over 17 years, there were some people, there were some moments that gaining respect was a difficult situation. But the third thing, exceeding expectation, is something that I want to challenge you. I want to challenge myself to do on a daily basis. How do we exceed expectations? As your executive director comes and begins discussion with you, I want you to work through two questions. Which one of these three areas are you the strongest? Why do you say that? Which one of these three areas are you the weakest? Because as we go through and begin to work and grow our influence, we can go from the bottom to the CEO position, even in a leadership organization. That's your challenge today.
Oh boy. Okay, that's a challenge. Yeah, Tanner, I want to come to you. You have just been assigned as a new principal. You're wrapping up your doctoral degree in what's your doctorate in?
Strategic leadership.
Strategic leadership. And you've just been asked to be a principal. Sorry, let me get this on to the next one. You've just been asked to be a principal at a new, well, not in a new assignment for you, right?
Mhm.
And as you listened to that, was there anything that you thought of through the lens of that new opportunity that you've got?
A little bit, yeah. So um, I'm kind of in like an in-between stage where I still haven't met some of the people I'm going to be working with. So I haven't had an opportunity to gain respect. And so really the only one that I actually know kind of as of right now is just some of the expectations. And so I would like to do a good job and exceed expectations, but I think before then, I am excited to meet these people so I can value them and gain their respect. And so, yeah, I think that is just the next step for me is just to meet the other people who are going to be on my faculty and really get to know them, care for them, and show them how much I care and gain respect. And
I love
I guess, well, never mind. Am I allowed to ask a question?
it. Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah. What do they mean when they say like gain respect? Is that just like broadly or is that like in my technical skills? Like what do they mean
This
by
is
that?
great. I'm going to hit that in the next few
Okay.
slides. So keep that question in mind. And I think out of these three, that one is, so that's the one we only have indirect control of. I can value people. I have direct control of this and I have direct control of this one. As long as expectations management is there, we have the same expectations. I can exceed those. I can value people. That's totally my autonomy and agency to be able to do that. To gain respect, that one is actually given, right? And so I'm trying to gain it by there's things I can do. We'll hit the 5 levels of leadership here broadly, and each week we'll hit that a little bit more. But that's the one that's really an indirect
Mm.
result of what happens. So I have been working through the same thing, and I'm prepared to help you navigate that a little bit today. So thank you for asking. Sharice, how about you? As you are working in the Montessori organization and looking to build that out with your own school, was there anything that came to mind for you as you watched that that you felt struck a chord?
Yeah, so on this point of gaining respect, what came to mind, and where he said it's gained on difficult ground, and I'm just reflecting back on difficult interactions that I've had with people in different organizations, and for sure, I think how you handle those situations says a lot about you and your priorities, and people care about that. And so it's a good reminder that, of course, we don't want difficult situations, but at the same time, that's sometimes a gift because then it can help us really show what's in our heart and kind of give us that opportunity um, to gain respect. But it is, as you said, like up to others, right? Like it's a little, maybe a little bit subjective too, which is difficult, but I think most people have a similar um, understanding of what they look for in order to respect someone, right? Like somebody that's honest, somebody that is in control of themselves and principled, I think. So that's
That's really well said. So with both of your comments, where Tanner's saying, how do we actually gain respect when respect is something that's given? And here we can take the other two bullets and codify it on this chart right here. So visually put it out here. So the first question that people are asking is, do you care about me? Do you care for me? The second, and that's really the value question. The next question that they're asking is, can you help me? Right? That's the next question they want to know is, are you competent? Can you help me? And this is the expectations question. Like, can you meet, much less exceed those expectations? So here we've got expectations coming in. We're going to try to exceed those. And do you see what happens here as we move up on the care, the relationships that you talked about, Tanner, about Mark? And you're like, man, that guy, we had a great relationship over here. And then over here, he's very competent in what he does. I know Mark, so I know that. And then you're able to land in that respect. That's the natural quadrant for what happens here. And Sharice, I'm guessing you've seen that same thing happen both for you and to you, right? As well as with other people when you know that they care for you, they meet those expectations in your life, all of a sudden the respect is there. Other words that we put here, trust. And that's actually the third question that John teaches us that everyone's asking is, can I trust you? Once I could trust you, man, then we got respect all day, right? To be able to do that. So for us, it really is a matter of being able to answer three questions when it comes to the influence that we're able to have with someone, whether professionally or personally. Tanner, you've got five kiddos of your own. So leadership in the home is the most important leadership that you've got going on here. And with your kiddos from like age 9 to 3, is that right?
That's right.
From 9 to 3. Yeah. And they're those daughters, you got five daughters, they all want to know, do you care for me? Right? Can you help me? And they trust dad right there to be able to do it. And Sharice, you got kids too?
I do. Yes, I have 20, 18, 14, and 4.
Oh,
So,
congratulations. Yeah, what a
yeah.
fun spread. You are spread in that case.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been the best.
Well, let's think about that both on the personal side and the professional side. I'm going to do a fun little screen share here where I'm going to jump in the screen with you. And I'm going to just take us through the 5 levels of leadership. So you should be seeing that, those 5 levels. Let me just check my screen share over here. Yep. And now I'm going to pop myself in there and woo, look at me go. Now I'm in the 5 levels of leadership, right? All right. And I want to see you all also. So I'm going to put show meeting. Now we're back in play. Okay. So little overview. This is not meant to be the end all be all of the 5 levels of leadership. What I want to do is I want to give you enough of an overview where you can see where what we're talking about today affects you in these different levels. So essentially the 5 levels of leadership, if we use alliteration, could be put this way. We have a position, and because of that position, people have to follow me. So I'm the principal, or I'm the dad, or I'm the mom. So that's my position. Now we all start there, but we shouldn't stay there for very long. That's just the introduction to the next part, which is that relationship. That's where they give us permission and they move from I have to follow you to I want to follow you. And with kids, this can be the trickiest one, right? And with volunteers. So that's why non-paid leadership is actually the best leadership measurement for us is when people don't have to follow me, do they follow me? And do I have that influence in their life that I want to be able to help them? Because that's what the influence is. It's not about me and necessarily that respect. It's that once they do respect me, then we can work together more quickly and easily to get production. Production is that third part where we want to help people get results. And then as we're doing that, people want to come along with us because they're like, well, I want those results. Like with my health and wellness, they're like, well, I want a physique like that. So I want that same result. So that's where I work with people to get the production there. Then with people development, now that's where we're helping people to become the people who are developing others, moving on to the pinnacle or that respect. And Tanner, that's where the respect really lies, is that highest where they give it to us. Not something that we can directly just have. It's the indirect giving, but we directly influence it in all of these other ways. So, a couple of slides here that I want to use to just illustrate this and give you something to go and do with here is I want you to think, just like Mark Cole asked, which of these do you feel like you're really good at? That's what I call the natural, right? Like, where's that strength, and where do you feel like you could make some improvement? That's the one that he's asking us. Where's the change that we could make? So, if you feel like you're really good at permissional, but then you're like, well, I get the relationships, but sometimes I'd rather be more liked than followed as a leader, right? That's where a lot of people stall out right here is I want to be liked, but I'm not quite sure I want to be a leader that has to push people. And like you said, Charisse, the difficult times, right? And even the respect, that's when a lot of times it comes from is those difficult times because we've had to work through the production, the people development. You really don't get too much of the difficult time down here. Like that's just, we got to get a relationship going on. Then we got to start producing. And that is where we really start getting momentum, which that's next week. That's going to be the law of Big Mo that helps us move into production. And from production, now, because we're producing so well, we can actually produce people along with the results. So we want to ask ourselves these questions just to make sure we're like getting from first level to second level, which is, am I leading from position or permission? Have I just been leaning on the rights, or am I building the relationships? And do they have to follow me? Or would they follow me even if they weren't being paid, even if they didn't have to? Just because we have that relationship and they believe in that relationship, so they can really trust me, right? So going back to our diagram that we had in that top right quadrant, can I trust you? Yes, you can trust me because I care for you and I can help you. Now, here's the big surprise. Even if you and I think we're really good at a level of leadership, we're on a different level with every single person. So, Charisse, you've got a certain number of kiddos. Tanner, you do too, and I do. And with each kid, we are probably today on a different level of leadership with them, right? With some, it might be permissional today. So, we got to do something to make sure we get to that relational and not try to move to production until we heal this part of the relationship and think, okay, what can I do right here and then be able to help them to be able to get better results in their own life. So think about that. In fact, here's what I want you to think about is just a certain individual, either in your professional or your personal life, where you would really like to make a difference when it comes to the levels of leadership. Just one person right now. Could be your spouse, could be a kiddo, could be a friend, could be a coworker, could be a leader, could be a direct report. But just keep that one person in mind as we hit these next couple slides. Where are you currently gaining influence with them, or where are you losing it? So you probably thought about this person because you're like, well, I'm either making good headway there, and where do I go from here? Or I feel like maybe it stalled out or even gone backwards. I know I had one of those conversations one time. I had a conversation where I thought, oh man, I think I'm at level 5 leadership with this person. And really quickly, through just from a hard conversation, I found we were at level 1. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been letting something deteriorate here. I was not building that foundation. And I thought I had something more than I did. So I had to go back to build that relationship. So, where are you currently gaining it? Where are you losing it? And where in your life can you exceed expectations this week to add value to that person? And that's how we really value someone is when we add value to them, right? We're like, you are a person of value. So I'm going to give that time, energy, and attention, the non-recoverables for me to add value to you. And essentially, in that way, a lot of times we do exceed expectations. So those are the two that we have direct control of. And what will that look like for you? Now, the most important thing then is going to be the thoughts and inspiration that you have coming from the inside right now than anything that Mark said, that John said, or that I'm saying. It's like, what are you feeling? What are the thoughts that are coming? And Tanner, as you and I talked about earlier today, what's that inspiration that I've got that's actually influencing me to go make an impact? Those are those big three eyes, right? Because we want that impact, but then we got to have the influence, and that influence comes from the inspiration. So, what's the inspiration we're getting, and how are we going to inspire someone else so that then they have that influence to make an impact? So, if you hadn't had it before, let me get you this. Cherise, since you weren't here last time, I want to make sure that you get this document right here. And this document is a field guide we're going to use for the next few sessions to help us out. And this time we're going to focus on page 3. Last time we did pages 8 and 9, which is an assessment. So that'd be a good one to kind of jump in now that you know the 5 levels of leadership. Do the little assessment on pages 8 and 9, but then jump into page 3 where it talks a little bit more in more detail about moving from, in fact, I think maybe it'll show better here, moving from level 1 positional to level 2 positional so that then we, or excuse me, permissional, so that then we're in the right spot to be able to lead into a production type opportunity with these individuals. So, and that'll be our next opportunity, which is the law of Big Mo, how we move from the permission relationship level to the production level of getting results and getting that momentum going rather than just being friends and having a good working relationship in that way. So that's going to be next Wednesday, different day, different time. I'm trying to accommodate different schedules for right now and then get those replays and resources out to you. And I want to ask you this, what are you going to do today then to take action, right? So here's the question maybe to ask yourself is, try to get out, what was most valuable for you today that you can actually take action on? So, Tanner, if you were to answer that question, what was most valuable for you today? You don't necessarily need to tell us the action, although I'm guessing it goes along with something either how do I show someone I care for them, the value question, exceed their expectations, the can you help me question, turn that respect. Just your most valuable takeaway today.
Yeah. I think just those three questions of do you care about me? Can you help me? And can I trust you? Um, I think, well, just on a personal level, I think with my wife, like I'm gonna go do some dishes right now just to show that I care and that I can help her, you know? And I think that's gonna do some good. But when I get to meet my new faculty, like I want to show those three things that I care for them, I can help them, and that they can trust me. So yeah, on a personal and professional level, I think those three questions are really good.
I have a lot of faith in you, Tanner. I know you could do that. Charisse, how about for you? What was most valuable for you today?
Yeah, so I really loved the image of the quadrant and showing the care and the competence and how that lands you in a place of respect. I think that's really important. And I'm thinking about that professionally. But what's really on my mind is I have a 14-year-old son, and he's really at a place where he's trying to he wants to see that I respect him.
Mm.
And I think I fail at that a lot. We just had a conversation today, actually, a heart to heart, and I was doing things that I wasn't realizing were tearing him down. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's like once they become teenagers, you have to really shift gears in how you interact with them. And it was very humbling for me because I was like, okay, I'm not giving him what he needs. And so anyway, this pyramid was really helpful because I'm in level one with him right now, right? And so it was a good visual for me I'm gonna work on that. So anyway, I appreciate it.
Well,
Yeah.
Sharice, you're in familiar territory for all of us as parents. I know that for sure. And I'm so glad it hit at the personal level. As much as I want to help people professionally, at that personal level, it's just so much more important. It's so close to the heart, right? To be able to do that. And really, when we could do that well, it manifests itself much better on the professional side of things as well. And it's important to remember these three questions, they are in order. And that's what you found today is I got to get back to that one. Does he know? He knows how I care about those standards or those rules or those expectations. He knows how I feel about those things. What he wants to know is how do I feel about him? And once he knows how I feel about him, that makes all the difference. Then we can start to move into that. But that's the question he needs to ask. Okay, well, we have that relationship. Now, can you help me on this one? And sometimes it takes a long time. But I'm here to tell you today, Charisse, I've got two adult kiddos as well, 21 and 23. And what you're focused on right now pays off in that long run, where they always feel welcome in your home. They always know they belong, regardless, because they know that they're loved. And love is the first L in leadership. I believe that because if we can love someone today, then we can listen to them, we can learn from them, and then they'll let us lead them, right? That they let us lead. And so I like listen and learn. I think we got to start with love. So great spot. I love that takeaway. Well, my friends, as we sign off today, I want to leave you with this reminder that the true measure of leadership is influence. So as we lead ourselves, what's the influence that we're creating for ourselves in our lives? As we're leading our families, what are we doing there? Starting with these questions, as you mentioned, to be able to do that. And then as we move into our professional lives, be able to implement it so that that true leadership influences people to make the impact we know they can make and we want to make with them. So thank you for joining me today, and I will catch you next week for the Law of Big Mo. And remember, if you can't join next week, Wednesday at noon, at least register, because then you'll be on the list to get all the replay and the resources to go with you. So I will catch you next week, my friends, or on the replay. Sound good?
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Have a wonderful day, my friends. Go influence the world. Bye-bye.